welcome to this very special show with two of the legends of world cricket, Jimmy Amarnath and Gary Kirsten, talking about the World Cup, talking about the India-South Africa match in this very special presentation on Headlines today. The perfect combination at the Calcutta Cricket and Football Club, Jimmy Amarnath and Gary Kirsten. You know, these two are real masters. Masters of their profession. They've been there, done that. The two perfect gentlemen to talk World Cup cricket and cricket with you. So, Gary, I'll start with you. How did you make it possible? I mean, egos like Sachin Tendulkar, Virendra Sehwag, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Yuvraj Singh. I mean, there are behind-the-scenes stories which I'm going to share. But how did you make it possible?
As a South African, I was able to look at the Indian environment from the outside in. I looked at the team dynamics objectively, without any emotion attached to it, and I think I was able to challenge individuals where I think a lot of other Indians couldn't challenge them because they're such big brands in this country. And it was quite a daunting kind of start, to be honest with you, and I don't think I expected too much from the players in terms of my buy-in. So we lost the series in Sri Lanka in 2008, and I knew I was down to my last series before I was going to get fired. And we were playing Australia, at that point the #1 ranked team in the world. And we sat down together as a group of people, and we made some calls that we probably could be the best team in the world, and we put the peg in the ground then. And I got each player to commit to something that he was going to do for his teammate. I've still got that piece of paper. It's the only piece of paper I've kept in coaching. But each guy kind of wrote down 1, 2, or 3 things that he was going to commit to the team on, and a shift in behavior. And a lot of it was around fitness, conditioning. Some guys were saying, my diet's going to improve. Other guys are going to say, I'm going to hit 1,000 balls a week in the nets. It was beautiful working with a team which was so different to the South African team that I had played in, that played the game with such flair and with such feel and with so little structure. And we were the opposite in South Africa. And I'd only wished that as the years that I played for South Africa, that we could have just been a little bit freer to go play and express ourselves.
Jimmy, you know, the point that Gary is making, I mean, structure, discipline. What about 83? Did you all have structure? Or did you all sort of just play it as freely as possible, enjoyed yourself, and then suddenly, when you all made the semifinals, hey, something's going on?
Time was different in those days. We didn't have coaches, we didn't have trainers. We used to have team meetings. It used to be just a very simple tea party for us, tea and biscuits. And we would announce the team, and then everybody would just go back to his room. And in England, as you know, like in those hotels, the room is not like our fantastic hotels in India. Like there used to be 10 by 10 kind of a room with 2 single beds. If you had put 2 suitcases and 2 kit bags, you had to jump over it to go to bed and things like that. But the other good thing was that whenever, I think, wives were not allowed to be part of the team, but if some wife had arrived, the guy or partner would automatically take his pillow and go and sleep in the other room. So there was a lot of understanding among the players.
Okay, let's start with 2011. The match against South Africa. Collapse with Dale Steyn's 5, 9 wickets for 29, India loses the game. Ashish Nehra overnight becomes the most hated man in this country.
I don't think we were playing that well, to be honest. We were playing okay. Had some good games, but we certainly weren't kind of fine-tuning our game at that point, and you mustn't be. You must wait for the knockouts for that. So that game in itself, I don't, to be honest, you remember that well, other than some of the incredible batting that took place. And, you know, someone like Ashish Nehra, you know, great credit to him, because 2 games later, he put in a remarkable bowling performance against Pakistan in Mohali and with Munaf Patel. And I think the rest of the players, our culture had been well set up then. There was no talk about it. I think there was this massive support for Ashish in that moment, and we got on with it. But to be honest with you, it's not really a memory of the team in any way, that game at all. You know, the 3 knockout games is where the guys talk the most about, and the memories come from that.
Can I ask you, what should India's strategy be when they play South Africa? Give us some advice.
Well, I'm not going to give you any I'm not going to give you any tips, but I think both South Africa and India have got great batting lineups. That's the one thing I will say. And I would have it at a guess that both teams would feel comfortable chasing down scores and chasing down fairly big ones too. I mean, India certainly have proved that. But I think it'll be a great spectacle that game. In fact, someone told me the other day that there are more tickets sold for that India-South Africa game than there are for the opening game of the World Cup between England and Australia. So, you know, for me, the World Cup is going to begin sometime in the middle of March, to be honest with you. That's where it's going to get really exciting. That's where your kind of mettle will be tested mentally. And I think South Africa, kind of, for me, I think this is their best chance of winning the World Cup since 1999, which I was part of that team, and we blew it in the semis, but I think they've got a strong chance this year.
Do you actually sort of go with what he said, two top batting lineups, but when you actually then place Dale Steyn, Morne Morkel, and you keep going in that South African bowling lineup, suddenly it starts becoming too heavily sided with South Africa. I mean, what is your take on that match?
I think like on a faster track, I would definitely give South Africa an upper hand over here. I think wickets in South Africa and wickets in Australia more or less are very much similar. And they're used to, I think there's something for them as playing at home kind of a thing, I would put it that way. But India have some good players. I won't say like all players are really doing exceptionally well in Australia. Virat and Rahane, probably they are the key for India if India have to chase runs. But I think probably India would be better if they bat first against South Africa and then put the pressure on them, because I think in Australia, I don't see them scoring and chasing big scores over there.
So how do you stop AB de Villiers? Now tell us that.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Certainly when I'm with Delhi Daredevils, we're going to try come up with some sort of a plan, but against RCB. But yeah, he's got a special set of skills. He really has. And he puts bowlers under massive pressure.
You stopped Vivian Richards in '83. How did you do that? Can you stop AB de Villiers? What is your tip? How does the Indian team stop? You know, actually these people are in great form. Hashim Amla, AB de Villiers, I mean, to get 400 plus runs, it's quite incredible. I mean, what should be India's strategy?
I think Dhoni should open the bowling.
Gary, you have captained Dhoni. You have seen him win the World Cup from the closest of quarters. Do you see Mahendra Singh Dhoni of 2011 and Mahendra Singh Dhoni of 2015 being the same cricketer? Does he still have that zeal in him to sort of beat the top teams in the world? Do you see that? Or do you think the champions are missing from this team?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I mean, I haven't been much with the team. I've connected with some of the players over the last 4 years, but I certainly haven't been within that team space. And I don't understand that space. So I don't know where the captain is. But I would never write off Mahendra Singh Dhoni to anything. I mean, he's a champion performer. He chooses the big moments in cricket to kind of set the stage for him to do the great things.
So this MS Dhoni thing was a perfect masterstroke, Jimmy Paji. Your semi-final and final man of the match awards. Again, I mean, something like a perfect masterstroke. You know, when you approach a tournament like the World Cup, what is preparation like? I mean, what do you do? Do you sort of change your diet? Do you think differently? Suddenly this new flavor of not taking wives, girlfriends, XYZ. I will ask you, do you want Virat to have Anushka Sharma, yes or no? So, you know, what is it like? Why is the World Cup different? Again, let's start with Virat. Anushka Sharma, yes or no? 400s with Anushka Sharma there in the Test series.
You know, like I was the vice captain, so I had a single room. Single room means bed was about 3 by 6, you know, that was the size of the bed. Only one person could sleep because wives were not allowed. So my wife, she was working in Yorkshire. She's a doctor. So, and I had a daughter, 3 years old. So they arrived because we reached the final. And there was only one bed. I couldn't order another bed because I had no money, because we used to get peanuts in those days. And then before the game, other friend arrived also. So there were 5 people in the room, and they one bed. And what to do? Because being a good host, I wanted guests to be more comfortable. So they all slept on the bed. I slept on the floor. I had a sleepless night.
So when I've got to tell you that story just to add on to it is when I was vice captain of the South African team in 1996, we were touring India, and there had been a big debate whether we were allowed to have our wives and girlfriends on tour, and I just started dating a lady 3 months before the tour had started, who's now been my wife for 20 years, and I was told that I wasn't allowed to bring her on tour, and I said, that's rubbish. I want to bring she could be my wife, my future wife. I want to bring her on tour. And there was a big debate, and eventually they allowed the girlfriends as well to come on tour. And she arrived here just before the Eden Gardens test match, 2 days before. And it was a big occasion for any cricketer to have a test match at Eden Gardens. And there was big debate about the wives and girlfriends coming on the road. And the manager wasn't that happy at the time. And so we get into the test match. I get 100 in the first innings and 100 in the second innings. And she's just arrived, my girlfriend. I said, I told you she had to be on the road with me.
Audience open for questions. We've got 15, 20 minutes. I can see hands going up.
Gary, a small question. When you were a coach from 2008 to 2011, two highlights I remember. When you went for the South African coach in 2010, Dhoni made a comment. The best thing that could happen to Indian cricket was to have you as a coach. In 2011, when you won the World Cup, Virat and Raina picked you up on the shoulder, took you around the cloud. Now, what were your feelings? The number of love and affection that you gave you suddenly left off and then you joined South African coach.
You're a traitor. That's what he's saying.
I tell you, at least I went back home and didn't go to England or Australia or something. Then I would have been in serious trouble. But yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I've always said to people, it was an incredible 3-year journey with the Indian team. I didn't expect it. In fact, the way I got the job was bizarre in many ways because I never applied for the job. Someone, it was a guy by the name of Sunil Gavaskar sent me an email to say, would you consider the job? And, you know, so it was bizarre in how it started out. The fact that it ended like that and the goodwill that I received from the Indian people, to be honest with you, was a little embarrassing. It's not why I do the job for the kind of accolades and for that. I do it because I just love cricket and I love the coaching space now that I'm in, and I love working with some of the great players in the world. So I certainly didn't do it to be risen on someone's shoulders or to hold a trophy. I really didn't. And you would have known that I kind of pretty much stayed out of the media because it wasn't my job to tell everyone kind of what we were doing. You know, that's up to the players to do that. So the goodwill was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. But for me, it was a job. Coaching the Indian team was a job, and it was. It created some fantastic memories that will live for me as long as I live. I think the great experiences that we had were the fact that my family was so warmly welcomed in this country, and my wife loves coming here. She ended up doing a lot more in India than I did, and this for us, without a doubt, is second home to us outside of South Africa. And as I said, I'm still coming back here 3-4 times a year anyway. So thank you for those memories.
You described how you went about building the Indian team as a coach. Right now, we have two coaches. One is Ravi Shastri and the other is Duncan Fletcher. Do you think really it works? I mean, having two people running the team.
You know, when I was with the team in 2011, we had this kind of collaborative leadership style. So MS and I were making a lot of the decisions, but we would go to Tendulkar, we would go to Azhar Khan. In fact, they would come into the meetings. And we would ask their counsel and their opinion and some of their ideas. And we would go to a couple of the other players as well. And I think that's where the game has really moved, is that you've got different kind of leaders fulfilling different roles. And, you know, Ravi Shastri might bring in a dimension that is really needed in the team at the moment. Duncan Fletcher, I know, is a student of the game. He'll have a lot of ideas at the moment. At the end of the day, the captain's got to walk on the field with all the kind of thinking and the strategies, and he's got to sit with his senior players and he says, and say, for the next 100 overs, what are we going to do on this field that's going to allow us to cross the line? That's really what it comes down to.
Is South African cricket getting overstructured?
Yeah, I think that's a good question from a South African perspective, because I think that's always a danger for us. We live in a society where we like to be well planned and kind of have structure. And I think that AB de Villiers coming on as a captain way back in 2011 was a great decision in many ways, because we needed to take the leadership away from one person. And AB de Villiers, by default, is a leader by example. He's quite a flair, instinctive player himself. He doesn't like too much structure. Now, I certainly, in the time that I've been with the Proteas team or the South African team, is to try and kind of take as much structure away as possible. I'm not the head coach anymore, so it's not my responsibility. But I think the team have kind of branched out into that space. In fact, we're one of the teams that have really embraced the rotation system more than any other country, where we've rested a lot of our players. In fact, Dale Steyn plays very little cricket these days because we're always trying to rest him for key games, you know, and he's one of our premier fast bowlers. and we know that he's got a lifespan, and we make sure that he plays all the test match cricket because that's dear to him. But certainly in one-day cricket, if we 3-0 up in a series, he won't play the last two because we want to rest him. So we've really worked the rotation system as well as we can.
Jimmy Paji, you call the selectors a bunch of jokers.
No, I think when I was playing, probably I was doing as well as anybody else. But probably I think people have different rules for me and then the rest. And so I, carried on. I took that, I'll use a little bit aggressive word, bullshit for a while. But it became, too much for me to take it anymore. And even after doing well, I was dropped, so that day I decided I don't give a damn to these people. Because they're not like my godfather. They're not providing me or 2 meals a day. And I was quite comfortable. I was very happy and very proud to represent my country. Whatever I had played, I had really cherished those memories. So that day probably I decided I don't give a damn to these guys. I had enough of these. Even if I don't play is fine with me, but I will not really take whatever they're doing the way they have ran the whole thing. So that made me decide. And I think the other thing also really helped me was my father, because he was an inspiration for me in life as such, and because he had gone through the same thing in his life. It's amazing with BCCI, And in his days also, like he had raw deal and he had to fight all the way. So I was fighting every day. So like whenever I was playing, I was taking that game as my last game. And I wanted to do my best. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to be second to none kind of a thing. I wanted to be number one all the time. So probably I think mentally I was very strong and I had prepared myself fine. Even if it goes the other way around, I was prepared to take that decision. And I was prepared to accept the decision if they had banned me from cricket, if they had stopped playing me from cricket. So I was totally mentally very strong and mentally prepared to just go ahead with my statement. And it's not that I had prepared about it. I just went there. I just went to the room. When I came to know I was not picked, I was very disturbed. I didn't sleep for days actually. But I think one fine morning I decided, okay, I'm just going to quit. At the most, I would quit. At the most, they won't pick me, that's it. And I was dropped for a while, but again I played, I performed again, and then I again represented the country. And representing the country I thought was the greatest thing for me in life. And whatever I am today and whatever I have achieved, all thanks to the love and affection of you all people.
I just want to know, as a sportswoman myself, how do two of you keep so fit and so handsome?
We need more ladies in these shows, eh?
Is silence your answer, Chief? Give an answer.
The old man can answer.
No, he's blushing. He's blushing.
You made my day.
Okay, so he'll have a drink to that. On that note, it's been an outstanding thing to get the two legends together. It's a perfect combination in the most interesting manner to talk cricket. I'm glad that they started with Calcutta. It's been a really patient, really interesting, and as they summed it up, you all have made their day and our day. On that note, can I please ask all of you to stand up and give them a standing ovation? Thank you very much.